Drake Powell lived in Ian Jackson's shadow for much of their recruitment, but the Powell legend continues to grow.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, July 8th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there. Special shout out to all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family. If you're not an everydayer and you're not in our Discord, man, we would absolutely love to have you come join us. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking about some Tar Heels getting off campus to go improve their game, talking about Drake Powell, RJ Davis, a little side of Elliot Cadeau tossed into that, and also looking at Summer League and where some of our favorite Tar Heels are in action already and who will be in the coming days. Very much looking forward to that. Also, I was out of town like basically all of last week, so had done some pre-recorded shows for you. So some of this is stuff that happened kind of midweek last week, but I wanted to catch up on it and give you my thoughts and takes. I'm back around for the next 3 weeks or so, and so excited to dive in and get back to it. Okay, so let's get to some Drake Powell action. Drake Powell last week continued to grow his legend in several ways, actually. One is something on the court, one is something off the court, and I want to dive into both of them. So last week, he was at the Jayson Tatum Elite Camp in Las Vegas, where he was there with several other college and high school wing players, an invite-only camp that he got to go be a part of. There were 14 total college players invited to this thing, and then 13 high school players. Let me just run you quickly through the list of these college players so you understand the kind of company that Drake Powell was keeping with this thing. He was one of 3 freshmen, along with Isaiah Evans and Con Knipple, both from Duke, 5 sophomores, Jaden Ross from UConn, Cam Carr, Tennessee, Milan Momcilovic from Iowa State, who was one of my favorite rising sophomores in the nation, Dalen Swain from Xavier, and Jaron Stevenson from Alabama. Juniors, AJ Storr, who transferred to Kansas, along with Rylan Griffin, who also transferred to Kansas, Fletcher Lawyer from Purdue, and Adu Thiero from Arkansas. 2 seniors, John Poulakidis from Yale, you might remember him from the NCAA tournament last year, and Peyton Sanford, who decided to come back to Iowa. And then 13 high school players. I won't name them all off, but a couple who you'll recognize because Carolina either is or has been in pursuit of them. Caleb Wilson, Nick Hemenia, Nate Ament, Sadiq White, just to name a few of those players. So Drake Powell is at this event, and we see midweek last week, EYBL puts out a highlight package specifically for Drake Powell, just talking about how he had some great runs in the the pro and college runs that they had. And so just getting all this love for our guy, Drake Powell. And again, it's still kind of weird and odd perhaps for us to start wrapping our brains around that for Drake, because for so long it was Elliot Cadeau and it was Ian Jackson, and Drake Powell was this guy that was the first commit, but he was this defensive guy. Well, his game has just grown and grown and grown, and now he's rising to the level of Elliot and Ian, to where he is very much getting that same level of love and recognition. Now, his game is different than Elliot's. His game is different than Ian's. And that's part of what's going to make him such a unique and helpful part of this Carolina team. And it's a big deal to be at this event. Jayson Tatum is there running it instead. Like he was supposed to be at camp with the rest of the Team USA, but he wasn't there. He was at his camp, got special exception to be able to do this. And so there Drake Powell is showing out, not just doing his defense, but showing how far his offensive game has coming. Dunks, threes, just showing off that whole bag. And I love it. And I love that Drake's getting this recognition, because with what his game has been for a lot of his high school career, it's not the type of game that translates to like a show off skills camp like this. His game is one that really, really translates when you get the whole team together and you're playing very organized basketball. But now he's at the point where what he does translates in any sort of scenario, because Drake Powell is that dude. Now, so you have that where he shows off. Also last week, it was announced that he signed with CAA. Now, this might not seem on the surface like as big a deal, but CAA is this group of agents that is not like they're signing top end, elite, high level talent that they are going to support right now in his NIL endeavors, but a group that will have high level NBA talent as well. To that point, let me name for you just some of their other recent representation. Reed Shepard, Kalel Ware, Ryan Dunn, Antonio Reeves. They've got Cameron Brink, right, who's one of the top WNBA players. I know she got hurt and is out for the season, but she is like up in that conversation with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Let me name for you some of the NBA players that are part of CAA. Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and Jaime Jaquez, Kat, Trey Young, Paul George, right? One of our own, Kobe White. And then they've got a few other freshmen like Liam McNeely, who's at UConn, like Cooper Flagg at Duke, to name just a couple. And CAA believes in Drake Powell enough that they're signing him as well. Folks, this is a big deal. The talent, the level of capability that he has is being noticed and recognized. And so I don't know how long he's going to end up being at North Carolina, because speaking of Kobe White, it could end up being something similar to that, where we might have thought we were going to have Drake Powell for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. He's just as much a candidate as Ian Jackson to be out the door after this year. I hope not, because I'd love to have him around. But at the same time, there is that level of like, go be great, young man. So catch this. Drake Powell is going to be an impact player this year for North Carolina. Is he going to start? I don't think so. But we've seen plenty of freshman impact things without being starters for North Carolina or other. Yeah, I just mentioned Reed Shepard. He didn't start for Kentucky. Rob Dillingham, he didn't start for Kentucky. Drake Powell is going to be a dude. Get ready, buckle up. It's going to be fun to watch him play. So all of these signs point to that. And this experience with these pros at Jayson Tatum Camp is only going to improve what Drake Powell is already doing. So, man, great experience for him. Now, he was not the only Tar Heel off at an elite camp last week in Vegas. RJ Davis, Elliot Cadeau were at CP3 Elite Camp. We'll catch up on that in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, going to MLB games in the summer is one of my favorite all-time things. The game, the food, everything that's part of the experience, I love it. And I'm excited to make all new memories this summer. Thankfully, though, I don't have to sweat it if I need a last-minute ticket that it's going to be some astronomical price, because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, making getting these tickets faster and easier. And besides that, tickets on the app actually go down the closer to first pitch you get. So with killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. A week from today is the Home Run Derby. Man, if you want to get into that, 145 is the cheapest ticket I've found in section 231. Or how about what I think is the best deal? Just a little bit back behind home plate off to the left side slightly, $303 each, section 113, row 8, man. Get in on that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. We just talked about Drake Powell at Jayson Tatum Elite Camp. Now we want to talk about Davis and Elliot Cadeau at CP3 Elite Camp. I did forget to mention earlier in the show. Let me go ahead and say it now. There's been something going on with my voice the past week or so. And so I'm just taking drinks of water pretty regularly here. And so please forgive me just if I pause every now and then. My throat just struggling. So thank you for bearing with me as it gets back to full strength. Maybe it's a week of not doing shows, pre-recording, and now it's like I got to get back in the swing of things, get my muscles back in gear. So RJ Davis, standout at CP3 Elite Camp. From Draft Express, who is Jonathan Gavoni. He does a lot of ESPN's recruiting stuff. He's like their main guy. One of his kind of underlings, John Chepkovich, said about RJ, UNC's RJ Davis was the most experienced guard at the CP3 Elite Camp, and it showed. Pause there. Okay, obviously, like, and people said this on Twitter. Obviously, RJ is the most experienced guard there. He's been there, he's like the 5-year player there. Okay, great, cool. We get it, we hear it. That's not what Chepkovich means here. While, yes, by age and college experience alone, he's the most experienced player there, but he's not just meaning pure years of experience. He's also meaning like he's put in the time and effort, and it's clear that he is the one who has done that more than anyone else that's there. So it's a combination of those things. So moving on with the quote. Really advanced at creating separation to get into his pull-up jumper. The consensus first-team All-American has a chance to take the crown as the Tar Heels' all-time leading scorer this season, end quote. Let's unpack that second and third thing as well. Advanced to creating separation to get into his pull-up jumper. It is very clear to me from hearing what Coach Rob has told us on the show, from what Rob has told me off the show, from what we're seeing from RJ, like in the little highlight package of him at CP3 camp, from the things that we know he needs to work on, RJ is not just being content to come back and keep playing as is. RJ Davis is saying, if I'm going to come back for a 5th year at the University of North Carolina, I'm going to work my butt off to get even better. And that's coming from this dude who is the reigning ACC Player of the Year, who was in the, one of the top 3 players in the National Player of the Year conversation, along with Zach Edey and Dalton Connect. Consensus first-team All-American, as we just said there in that quote. That's the dude that is still working his butt off to be the very, very, very best player that he can be. And I expect nothing less from RJ Davis, but you love to see it. Now, RJ is clearly working on areas of weakness. Last year, what was the bugaboo? What stifled RJ? It was when teams put length, size, that type of thing on him to slow him down. We first really started to see it with the first Duke game when I believe they used Proctor chiefly on him, if I'm remembering correctly. But it really bothered RJ. Other schools used it as a blueprint, and there were times throughout the rest of the season where RJ was slowed down. There were others where he weren't, like the home game against Miami where he scored a Smith Center record in points. Miami had a lot of length to put on RJ. It didn't matter. But what RJ is doing is saying, all right, look, what was my kryptonite last year? And how can I do things now to offset that? How can I have 2-3 things in my bag that when you put that size and that length on me, it don't matter. I'm going to do it. So he's finding a variety of ways to create better separation, step backs, other forms of clearing space so that he can still beat you even if you try to do him like that. And so fifth year RJ Davis is going to be at an even next level than fourth year RJ Davis. And maybe that seems like duh, but we don't always see that with players. We see other players who come back and are just the same versions of themselves. That is not what this young man is trying to do. Now, that last part about him potentially being the all-time leading scorer, I kind of hope not. And not just because it's like, oh, I want Tyler Hansborough's record to stand. It's because I hope RJ has more scoring help this year than he did last year. I don't want him to have to be dropping 25 a night for Carolina to succeed. I want to see it from other guys. Now he's going to get his points, but I just don't want it to be that same level. Now, as you can see from that video, Elliot Cadeau is also at the CP3 camp with RJ. I really, really think that Elliot is going to take a massive leap this year. Do you agree with that? I'd love to hear from you. Hop in our Discord, hop in the YouTube comments and let us know. But just thinking about the quickness with which Elliot had to hop into reclassifying, being at Carolina early last year, and yet still doing everything he did. I think there's going to be just another level this year that you're going to see from Elliot in terms of confidence. Remember, he didn't have a full summer with the team last year. This is his first full offseason with the team. And I think we're going to see big strides. I love that these guys are at this camp together to continue to sharpen one another. It's going to pay off. This backcourt is going to be so stinking good. You got to get ready for it. All right. Now, the goal of all these guys is to get to the next level. There's a bunch of Tar Heels that already have, and we're going to talk about their summer league plans coming up in just a second. NBA Summer League has started, just kind of getting off the ground and running. We've got there's three different parts of the NBA Summer League. There's the California Classic, there's the Salt Lake City Summer League, and then there's the actual NBA 2K25 Summer League in Vegas. That doesn't start till this Friday, and that's every team in action. So these first two, the California Classic and Salt Lake City, are kind of like these mini leagues. Salt Lake City just has 4 teams. California Classic has 8. And that's how it goes. Now, right now, there are, at least with what we know, 7 different Tar Heels in Summer League. And let me just name those off for you, alphabetical by surname. Armando Bacot with the Jazz, Leaky Black, obviously with the Hornets, Tony Bradley with the 76ers. Interesting that he's part of Summer League. Garrison Brooks with the Bulls. That's fun. Harrison Ingram, obviously, with the Spurs, who just drafted him. Pete Nance with the Cavs, and Cormac Ryan with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So a couple of these guys have already been in action. A couple will be starting today. And then obviously everybody will be once we get to the actual Summer League in Vegas. So in the California Classic, you've got games in Sacramento and San Francisco. This is the Lakers, Kings, Heat, Warriors, Hornets, and Spurs, and then a team from China as well. So the Tar Heels playing in this are Leaky Black with the Hornets and then Harrison Ingram with the Spurs. And so we've had some action with that already. Leaky's played 2 games and Harrison Ingram has played 2 games, one of which was head-to-head on Saturday over the weekend. Hornets won that game 97-65. Both guys started. Leaky played 18 minutes, 57, 5 points, 2 of 2 on field goals, 1 of 1 from the free throw line, 5 boards, an assist, a steal, and a turnover, and -9. Kind of a pretty typical Leaky line there. You look at it, and it's like very efficient on shooting, filled out the stat sheet a little bit, and just played his role as he does. Harrison Ingram also started 26 minutes, 3 points, 1 of 6 from the floor, 0 of 2 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but 7 boards, an assist, and -3. Harrison Ingram in that game looked a little bit like nervous. It's his first action as a pro, so I get that and I hear that. And then they both did better work even on Sunday in terms of scoring, at least. Harrison and the Spurs played the Kings. They lost 85-59. Harrison played 27-50, 11 points, 5 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 4 boards, 2 assists, and a turnover, -22 in that one. But his whole team suffered, so don't look at that. Just played a little more confident, did more of what you expect from Harrison Ingram. Great to see. And then Leaky and the Hornets on Sunday beat the team from China 93-62. Leaky played just shy of 19 minutes, 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 3 boards, 2 assists, a steal, no turnovers. He was +21. That's the best stat line of the 4. I know it wasn't as many points as Harrison scored, but really, really good showing there from Leaky. And so we'll continue to see more from these guys as that goes forward. The Salt Lake City Summer League starting today, though. 4 teams, Thunder, 76ers, Grizzlies, and Jazz. But 3 of those 4 teams have Tar Heels on them. And so you've got Cormac Ryan with the Thunder, Tony Bradley with the 76ers. They face off tonight, 7 Eastern on ESPN, so make sure you check that out. And then in the game right after that at 9 Eastern on ESPN, you'll have Armando Bacot and the Jazz against the Grizzlies. I'm very, very interested to see what Cormac Ryan and Armando Bacot look like in this environment. Now, some of that is just how much run are they going to get? How many opportunities will they get? I don't know. But with Cormac, the shooting has got to be there. With Armando, the most important thing he can do is just go out and rebound his little butt off. And so we're going to be watching to see those things. I'm going to be tiled in. I'm guessing that you will be as well. I'm also interested to see how Harrison Ingram follows up his first 2 performances. They are off today, Monday, and I believe play again on Tuesday. I haven't looked ahead at the full schedule, but I'm pretty sure that is what happens there. So Summer League, always very interesting to see how these go as guys get some of these next experiences. And like it or not, other schools are using how Carolina guys go and perform in the professional levels, or how not well they perform, quite frankly, for or against the program. And so it's like, man, you want to have success for these guys to just show, hey, Carolina, do it. So I think most critical to perform well is Harrison Ingram, because he's the one that transfers in. He's the one that gets drafted. And so I think that's the one that's going to reflect on Carolina a lot, along with Armando. Obviously, people are going to be watching that, and his success or failure is people are going to use that as a referendum one way or the other on Carolina. And so just watch for Armando's place. And obviously, we want Cormac to do very well as well. So that's Summer League. That's what's going on there. We'll keep tabs on that. We won't talk about it a ton, but it is fun to keep watching. So there you go. It's good to kick off the week. Love these experiences that the Tar Heels are getting and experiencing in other realms. Bring it back to Chapel Hill. Put all that experience into action. And let's roll. Let's ride, right? And so very excited for Drake and for RJ and Elliot to have had those experiences. All right, gang, we'll be back together tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed to the show on audio and videos, make sure to do that. If you are not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, man, again, we would love to have you. It's free to join, and the link is in the show notes. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.